Marc and Willem, welcome to hashtag World Food Day.
Thank you very much.
The first thing I want to ask you is, could you tell us about yourselves and your journeys? Marc, why don't we start with you? Tell me about yourself and your journey.
Well, first of all, it's great to be back here, Jeremy. I mean, here in the great studio of Peace One Day, but and to be, again here for World Food Day live. I've been here before. It's great to be part of this initiative.
Thank you, Marc.
And I'm just so proud to see you taking it up another notch. Of course, with the World Food Programme's help also, and this amazing initiative around ShareTheMeal. I think it really is something that we can all support and go big behind. No, so it's great to be here. And Weston has been a proud supporter of World Food Day Live. Weston is a company, a big French fry company. Yeah? So we bring great tasting fries to many places in the world. And that's exciting. Yeah? So we bring the world together with fries, and it's great because people are at the table and their first thing that they pick, is mostly the little fry on the plate, and it brings people together. But what fascinates me is that bringing these fries to the world, I mean, is actually a very complex thing because it's all based, of course, on the mighty potato, which is a fantastic crop. I mean, potatoes, use very little water in terms of versus other crops, and also deliver a lot of energy out of the soil to the customers, to the consumers. So it is a great crop, and then to actually make it into such an enjoyable food is something that's great. But that whole chain has a lot of challenges, and I think that's what we all here also to talk about, because the challenge is, of course, that the affordability of products is actually a bit under pressure. We see it in coffee, we see it in chocolate, but we see it also in potato products, and that's what we are here talking about together with Willem.
Yeah. I mean, thank you, Marc. I mean, before we move on, I also want to say, so that the audience know, and I'm sure they do anyway, that Weston, you're right, Marc. You've been supporting Peace One Day for a long time, and this broadcast wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Weston's support, and of course to you too, Willem, at Agrifirm, that you are behind enabling this global conversation. So at Peace One Day, we are incredibly grateful to you for allowing people to receive this message, which I think at this point there's people streaming, well over 1 million people already. So Willem,
fantastic.
So thank you. But Willem, tell me about your journey.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, very pleased to be here and be part of this initiative. It's fantastic to see what you are doing here. And I work at the Royal Agrifirm Group, which is a Dutch farmer cooperative, around 10,000 farmers, half of which are livestock in livestock farming, and the other half is open field crop growers. So I'm heading up the division that services these growers. So we basically supply them with everything that they need to grow their crops, which is like seeds and fertilizer, crop protection. But more and more we are starting to also advise them in an ever more complex world on how to bring their crop cycles to the best possible outcome. Now, and as for my personal journey, I've been in agriculture for about 25 years. As a non-agricultural person, I've been amazed by the complexity of growing plants. It's captivating, but certainly also the complexity that growers and farmers are dealing with. Especially these are mostly family businesses, but if you look at the structure of food chains, a lot of the risks of food chains are actually placed with these farmers. And in a world where it gets more complex, more risk is coming to these farms. The mind-blowing statistic is that actually in the Netherlands around 30 to 40% of farmers live at a minimum income level. So if you combine that with the amount of risk that they actually incur, that is a very odd way for a food chain to work. So that's what we do at Agrifirm Group. We work with these farmers to help them decrease the risk and increase their income.
Incredible. So talking about risk and the difficulties, the complexities that they go through for so many reasons in a world that's evolving in the way that it is, which of course is concerning to us in many ways. I want to ask Marc, what worries you about? I mean, no food, no peace, no peace, no food. WFP won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
I mean, food's relationship with our survival is clearly fundamentally important. Clearly,
Absolutely.
I want to ask you about what worries you both, because what the part that's worrying you both is the part that's driving you both for change.
Yeah,
Talk to me about what concerns you most about the food system right now.
Well, I think in the end, the world population continues to grow, and therefore there's always a growing demand still for more food. And yes, we know about how many people are still living, let's say, in circumstances where they don't have access to affordable food. So that is the overall kind of challenge that we have. But yes, this growing demand in a world where actually, the resources are a little bit limited. Yeah. So how do you keep up with that demand to continue to feed the world? And I think that is also where Willem comes in quite
That's
a bit.
right.
Yeah.
The getting more demand is a good thing, and that's with a growing world population. That's obviously not only potatoes, but we see it in a lot of crops, and so that means the supply needs to increase. And we live in a planet with finite amounts of land, so ultimately we cannot increase the amount of land that we grow on. So ultimately we have to grow more from the given amount of land that we have. And this provides obviously a big challenge. Certainly when you look at the health of our soils, if you just keep pushing more yields, because the yield is really the key metric for the farmer, and that means the amount of crop that comes off a certain piece of land. And so when you keep pushing that, you risk the depleting the soils. And so governments are starting to put more and more regulation in place, really to avoid that. And so the challenge that really that we're facing today is how to keep increasing yields while reducing the environmental impact. That's really the challenge to solve.
Yeah, and just to add, I mean, it's understandable that governments put in the regulations, because of course that's something like, okay, how do we control that, so that we don't deplete the soils, etc. But of course that gives more constraints to farmers, and actually we see that the impact of that brings lower yields. So the real kind of unlock that we need is to collaborate across the whole chain, because that's the only way to increase those yields, those outputs from land, and in the end that can then provide growth, which then of course demand can then be fulfilled. So that is the whole kind of circularity here that we are dealing with as a challenge.
Very interesting. So let's move on to that then, because there is some, throughout this entire broadcast, extraordinary people like yourselves on the front line trying to deliver food, representing farmers, etc., etc. And how we do that is fundamentally important in relation to can we use that soil again the following year. Talk to me about some of the constructive things that are happening. Let's get the hope here.
Yeah.
What's happening? What are some of the good things that are going on at the moment that give us hope?
And that's also why we are here. It is all about, as I said before, it's all about collaboration across the chain. Now, that is not happening so much today. So what you see now is that parts of the chain are all trying to optimize that part of the chain. So a farmer will try to optimize his or her piece of the chain, and so forth. So, but actually, if you, in the end, if you add the pieces together and it works together, then you can improve that. So that is the big kind of unlock that we are trying to create to, in the end, provide a very stable supply, a growing supply of high quality crops that can lead to high quality products like the Westons. So I think that's a little bit the kind of the challenge. Which I don't know. That's maybe because of the how. I think that's also where Agrifirm comes in.
Yeah, it's interesting. This from farm to fork, that's what you're talking about, isn't it?
Well,
all the way from one to the other.
From farm to factory to fork.
Yeah.
Because in the end,
and you've all got to talk. You've all got to work together.
Absolutely.
The more we work together, the stronger we are, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And that goes for everything, doesn't
absolutely.
it?
Yeah.
So really, this is about how in an ever increasing complex world, how do you deal with this, right? Because, and as Marc already said, that's why we're here today. Because what we believe is that by collaborating, we can actually change and change the perspective that we're with increasing the yield, with less inputs. That is ultimately what we're striving for.
When you talk about less inputs, you're talking about chemicals, or you're talking about protection of the planet.
Yeah,
in terms of improving yields.
Less water. There's the more you bring down those inputs, of course, it's also lower cost, but also the effect on the planet, of course, is reduced.
And that's a real driver for you.
So it's working within the constraints that we have and still increase yields, right? That is the challenge. And so the direction that we're moving is really digitizing the whole crop growing cycle, and so you can take data-driven decisions. And so that's really a turn into the 21st century, if you like, for farming. Is, how do we start with measures that we can actually turn into active decisions, which ultimately lead to more output with less inputs and, as you said, lower environmental impact. That's really, and we can do that in a much more localized way today with local data instead of more generic advice. We can do that much more locally, and that's what changes also for farmers, so they can ultimately increase and doing less.
And you both, I want to move on to ShareTheMeal, and I want to find out a little bit more about, people can find out more about the both of you. But do you think we're doing enough? Do you sort of have hope about the future of food and technology and how it needs to evolve?
Well, we're still at the early stages, I would say, because to adopt all this is not easy. Yeah, for a farmer, having so many already challenges to deal with in terms of compliance to the regulations, and to actually deal with the weather and all that, and to actually provide for their own family, etc. There's many challenges. So how do you also incentivize a farmer to be more data driven, and to make sure that in the end a bigger system is built, of course, that a farmer can be part of, as well as us and Agrifirm. So and then it often starts also with producers like ourselves. So how do we incentivize the farmers that we work with to actually do a better job and to provide those data, so that you can build that stronger system for the future and build those best practices. But it really is bringing it all together and making it.
To your question, I'm very hopeful. Yes, because I can see that new technologies can achieve what we've just said.
And protect the planet.
And protect the planet and increase yields, because those have to go together, right? That's the challenge, because income has to be there for the farmer to survive, and yet it has to be efficient enough for food prices to remain at an acceptable and affordable level, right? So I'm very confident that we can do this together, and the key is really to get the data flow going. So that provides very important upsides for a company like Weston, but it also drives trust in the food chain, because it becomes more and more transparent, but certainly it provides the real measures for farmers to take the right decisions.
So you see, there's more to it to actually bring a fry to your plate. There's a lot going on here. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, it's amazing. Listen, I've had a lot of conversations and spoken to a lot of people to produce today, and I got to tell you, I find it just the information that I receive, the inspiration that I feel, and the way in which everyone's engaging and talking. I have to say, it is really inspirational, and it's just a pleasure to do this and hear these conversations. Look, we've got a couple of minutes left. ShareTheMeal. Why is that so important, Mark?
You want to maybe start, Willem, and then I'll...
Well, first of all, I think it's very inspiring today, so I want to encourage all the watchers today to make the donation, because that's, I think, a very important aspect of what we're trying to achieve today, as well as provide more insight on how the food chain works. And so my quick summary of that is we talked a lot about the economies around food prices, around farmer income, but we also talked about the environmental footprint. And so that really is the key. If you can marry those two up, the economics and the ecology, that's the key to the future, and hence getting a collaboration on that. So if we've gotten that across, I would hope that people get their support for farmers, get it up, as well as support the day-to-day.
We hear that a lot. Support your local farmers. We really hear that a lot. That's a great message.
Yeah,
Mark, ShareTheMeal.
ShareTheMeal, fantastic. And Lamb Weston has a foundation actually that is set up to fight hunger. So that's something, of course, that is completely aligned with the ShareTheMeal program. So we're also happy, like Unilever earlier today, to donate 10,000 meals to the ShareTheMeal program. So first of all, I'm very proud to do that, and I'm very happy to do that. And I hope it is also motivating more people to join in and make this day even more successful for everyone. So that's first of all. And of course, then it's yes, support the farmer, eat more potatoes, and if those are Lamb Weston potatoes, then I'm happy to.
It's incredible that you've made that contribution to ShareTheMeal. We are all huge fans of WFP. They do unbelievable work around the world, and it's obviously a huge honour for all of us to be able to support them today. So well done WFP. But if people would like to know more about Agrifirm and Lamb Weston, how can they do that?
Well, of course, we have our website out, so I think that's probably the best way to get better understanding of what this farmer-owned cooperative, which I think is a very important aspect of it. Yeah.
Lamb Weston is available in your supermarket, so then you can also get some more information. But Twister fries, he loves them too, and I do too. But I think that overall we are here to support not only, of course, our own ambitions here, but a broader network. So I hope that has come across today.
Okay, Willem, thank you for being involved.
Pleasure.
Marc, fantastic. Let's have another look at a wonderful public service announcement.